as well get to rocking. If y'all are ready.
Who's not here?
Michael.
Oh.
The other one. Okay, it is 7:02. We'll go ahead and get started. Is the film running? Cool. All right, I'd like to welcome everybody to the August meeting, the Laconia Zoning Board of Adjustment, and welcome everybody, and thank you for coming. And with that, we'll go ahead, have the roll call, please.
Roland Mayhew.
Here.
Suzanne Purley.
Here.
Ori Gibbs.
Here.
Mike Foote.
Here.
Steve Bogert.
Here.
And Mike Delvecchia is not present. Brandy Laughlin, the Assistant Planning Director, is with us tonight as staff, and I, Robert Moore, will be doing the minutes.
Okay, let the record indicate that we do have a quorum here and that we will proceed as is. Okay, recording secretary, staff and attendance, acceptance of the meeting. Anybody have any additions, changes, discussion? Motion to accept the minutes as is.
Second.
He seconded it, but did anybody make a motion?
Or are you just asking for?
I was
you're
asking for it.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the August 20, wait a minute. Of the July, come on, brain, July 20.
Just July meeting.
July meeting as presented.
And we have a second. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0. The extensions. Okay, we have 3 extensions here to go over, and I'll read off, because we're probably gonna talk about all 3 of them at the same time. So we'll open them, let the applicant tell us what he wishes, and then we'll discuss and vote on each one individually. Okay? First extension is 664 Scenic Road Extension Request for application 2009-0027. Applicant requests an extension of for a special exception to allow multifamily units in the SFR zone. The next one is 63-99 Fletcher Lane Extension Request for application 2009-0029 and 2012-0010. Applicant is requesting an extension for application for a special exception to allow multifamily room in the shorefront. Okay, and the next one is 63-99 Fletcher Lane Request 2009-0030. Applicant requests an extension of application 2009 for an area variance. Would the applicant please come forward, introduce yourself for the record, and tell us how we might be of service.
Good evening, everybody. Chris Dupree on behalf of the applicant. I appreciate the opportunity to appear tonight. I apologize I was unavailable last month, but thank you for allowing me to come in. I think in your applicant or in the application package, there's a property map that shows the parcels that we've been talking about for a number of meetings now. We do, next up on our agenda would be an appearance before the planning board in October for an extension of those approvals, which I would say would be likely at this point. I think happy to answer any questions. We're continuing to move forward with construction of the parcels along Scenic Road. We still have some townhomes under construction that we're trying to get finished up abutting to this parcel, and we have hired Hutter Construction which was the contractor on the first mid-rise building on a pre-construction basis, and they are working on pricing and some value engineering on this parcel for us now. Nothing in the neighborhood has changed that we haven't changed or been party to. Nothing has changed probably for a couple of years now since the last multifamily with the townhome development. And I think we've laid out the meeting of the tests required for the approvals, but happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions of the applicant?
Just confirming that these approvals are through December 31, 2018,
Yes.
all three of them.
4.
Three,
3.
2, 3.
2 multifamily and 1 area variance.
This one has 2 in it, and I got 4 packages, so.
These are the 3 extensions.
No, they're both the same number.
Okay,
There's 3.
okay.
At one time, we had 4 in the works here, and one of those, I think, went away as we built something. It was on the Aqua Village where we built the mid-rise building.
All right, because I'm showing the 2, the 0027,
Yeah,
0029,
right.
0010,
Where do you see that?
right there.
Part of the same extension as the second. Those 2 work together because they're the same.
Is it, was it made in one application
Yeah.
or?
And then 0030.
It's just referencing a document, I think, but
Yeah, it's got the reference for the two applications. That's what you're talking about. It's the same.
Something not needed, which is fine.
Well, I only see 3.
What?
I only see 3.
Yeah, we only got 3, we only got 3
Okay.
applications.
I was just
One does-
reading it from right
Yeah, I
here.
know, one references that, but
Okay,
Yeah,
That's
the application packet also include copies of the last extensions that were approved, so.
that's fine. I'm good. I'm good. Just trying to clarify it for the record which one, so scratch that one. Okay. Any other questions of the applicant? There being none, I'd like to, do we open this up to the public? No, I didn't think so. Okay, then like a motion for application 2009-0027.
I'll make a motion to approve application 2009-0027 for a special 6-month extension of the special exception expiring on December 31, 2018.
Second.
December 31st, you said?
Is that right, Brandy?
Correct.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Discussion? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passes. Application 2009-0029. Like a motion?
I can see right now where it says that, it says also 2012-0010. That's where the
Right.
confusion comes in, but anyway. So I'll make a motion to approve application 2009, 29. This was also a special exception, and to expire on December 31st, 2018.
We have a motion,
second.
we have a second discussion. There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that one passes 5-0. Okay, application 2009-0030.
I'll make a motion to approve application 2009-0030 for an extension of the area variance for 6 months to expire December 31st, 2018.
I'll second it.
We have a motion, we have a second. Discussion? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll see in December.
Okay, next is, we're going to public hearings, and, okay. First one we're gonna hear is, application 2018-0012, 903 Union Ave. Applicant is requesting a variance from 235-50-1E to allow a driveway to be located within the 50 feet of an intersection and minimum driveway separation distance. We're gonna have only a four, no,
Mike?
we got, Mike,
Mike came in.
you're gonna fill in
Very
on
good.
this one. As Ori's gonna recuse herself due to her affiliation with a law firm. And I guess, so, with that, would the applicant come forward and introduce yourself for the record?
Yes. I'm Philip Brouillard, trustee of Union Avenue Realty Trust, and we're here today, as the chairman said, for a variance from the provision of the zoning ordinance that he quoted, and that is that a driveway is not supposed to be within 50 feet of the intersection of a street, nor are there supposed to be other driveways within 50 feet of each other on the same lot. And so I'm going to, I've supplied a package with pictures, the site plan, the proposed building on the site, and I'm going to go through the criteria, but basically the big deal here is that there was a building on this property that was one of the first houses in Laconia. And basically, I had to tear it down because it was, just had no insulation in it, and it cost more to heat than it brought in rent. So we tore it down, and we've tried to have it be for sale, and we've tried several ideas. And the idea that we've come up with is a boat storage building that's recessed into the lot. We filed that application with the planning board, and we went to TRC, and we were told that we needed a variance for this provision of the zoning ordinance. I know there's some concern to butters here tonight, but I do want the ZBA to know that this is like the first step, getting this variance. There has to be test borings, analysis of the drilling results and the soil, application of the drilling results to a sheathing contractor for the feasibility of sheathing, presentation of the results to the DPW, and we need to have our second TRC. So I just want the board to know that when you go through this planning process, you get told that there's things you need to do along the way, and this variance is one of the things that we need to do along the way. But I also want the board to know that they're not voting on this building. That's the planning board, and frankly, I'm not going to put a building there if it's unsafe to anybody or there's some problems with ledge or the soils. So that being said, you know, this really isn't about a boat storage building. This is about the driveways and the distances, and that's what the application's about today. Basically, the zoning criteria, the variance will not be contrary to the public interest, because the property has unusable frontage along Walnut Street for a driveway and usable frontage on Union Avenue. The parcel is .53 acres in size, and the site is ideal for boat storage and provides a suitable location for residents' use for heated boat storage purposes. The public interest is served by having readily usable property upon which to store boats inside. The boats will all be stored inside. It is in the public interest to store boats inside where they are not in view during the winter storage months. The spirit of the ordinance is observed since the property is bounded on each side by properties in the commercial zone. This variance does not unduly and in a marked degree conflict with the Laconia zoning ordinance and does not allow or violate the ordinance's basic zoning objectives. Granting this variance would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood or locality and would not threaten the public health, safety, or welfare. In fact, nothing would change as a result of granting this variance, except the property would be improved. Substantial justice is done as the owner and applicant can make some reasonable use of the property to obtain some financial return from the property, to improve same and provide needed heated boat storage to the city and its residents and property owners. Perhaps the only guiding rule on substantial justice is that any loss to the individual has to be outweighed by a gain to the general public. And in this particular case, there's no gain to the general public that supersedes any loss. In this case, there's no harm to any abutter. There is no evidence that this variance will harm any land, wetland, aquifer, and granting the variance encourages a reasonable and allowed use of the property, considering its location in the boating-intensive area in close proximity to 3 marinas. The value of surrounding properties are not diminished because adequate landscaping and improvements to the property will make it more aesthetically pleasing. The property is located in the commercial zone among 2 marinas across the street and 1 nearby, and the general area is commercially used for boats, boating, and boat storage. No noise, limited traffic, and activity will result from the seasonal boat storage use. Number 5, literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship due to special conditions of the property being on a corner, having unusable frontage on Walnut Street due to the topography of the land, and having a pre-existing driveway that has been in place for 100 years from other properties in the area, such that the property cannot be reasonably used in strict conformance with the ordinance, and a variance is therefore necessary to enable a reasonable use of the land by allowing a driveway to be located within 50 feet of the intersection of Walnut Street and Union Avenue, and a second driveway to be located within 50 feet of this driveway for safe traffic flow on busy Union Avenue. I'd next like to direct you to a package that I prepared with photos that looks like this. And I'm going to go through the photos one by one. And the first 17 or so show properties on Union Avenue. Now, I want the board to know that I only went from like McDonald's to Messer Street on Union Avenue. There's rampant 2 driveways in the rest of the city, but this property that we're talking about is in this area. So we've got, number 1 is in front of the Daily Sun office, and there's 2 driveways, and they're less than 50 feet apart. Number 2 is the new Farrows Express, and there's 2 driveways, and they're less than 50 feet apart. Number 3 is Lakeside. There's 2 driveways, and they're less than 50 feet apart. The Cupcake Place, which is owned by the Waterworks in Lakeport there, at number 4 has got less than 50 feet, 2 driveways. The building where the diner is, across from the Waterworks, 2 entrances, less than 50 feet. The abutting...
How much less than 50 feet?
Oh, well, it varies, Mike. It could be anywhere from 5 to 10 feet to 20 or 30 feet. I tried to give good, clear pictures, but they're certainly less than 50 feet. This, number 6 is the property next door, and there's 2 driveways less than 50 feet. This is the direct abutter. Number 7 is a property located near Harrison Street. Number 8's the Case and Keg. They basically just have a sign out front, and then they don't have any separation at all, to answer that question, Mike, basically. And then number 9 is Hughes Automotive, and that's about 20 feet. Then you got the old Jimmy's Bakery, the dynamic ceramic across from Canton's, and that's about 30 feet. And then property across from the Irving Station, number 11, that's probably 30 feet. And then there's Holly's, again, that's probably 20 feet. Number 13 is Sanitaries, that may be 35 feet. Then Dairy Queen is probably one of the ones that's closest to 50 feet, Mike, but I don't think it's more. Number 15 is 3 properties at the intersection of Union Avenue and Messer Street, and all those driveways are closer than 50 feet to each other. Starting at number 16 is the grouping of houses that, or the grouping of photos that show a driveway located less than 50 feet from the intersection of a street. This is where Union Avenue and Messer Street intersect, and you can tell there's a driveway within 50 feet of that intersection. Then there's Clark Avenue where Lakeside is. It's less than 50 feet between Clark Avenue and the first driveway on Lakeside. That's number 17. Number 18, it's less than 50 feet between the corner of Harrison Street and that property on Union Avenue. Number 19 is the Case and Keg. Again, that's Harrison Street, and the driveway is located less than 50 feet from that. And this is another view of that property at the corner of Harrison Street, so you can see it's less than 50 feet. Then there's the property at Chestnut Street with Case and Keg on the other side, closest to Fratello's, number 21. That's less than 50 feet. Then you move on to Laurel Street, and that is, there's a driveway within 50 feet of Laurel Street. And then there's actually, number 23 shows that there's not even 50 feet between Laurel Street and the driveway at the parts store. Aroma Joe's Bridge Street is a street, but it doesn't really go anywhere except to the Laconia Area Land Trust. There's no bridge anymore, or it's a pedestrian bridge, but it's a street, and it's less than 50 feet. Van Dyke Street and the property next to it, that is less than 50 feet. And then the intersection of Union Avenue and Messer Street, there's driveways way within 50 feet. Number 27 is the subject. That's a picture of the corner of Walnut Street and the subject lot. That's the driveway cut that's been there for 100 years. And number 28 is the proposed second driveway location, and that's the way the plans that you have would show that. And that concludes my presentation. If there's any questions that I can answer or anything that any board member would like to know, I'd be happy to answer the questions. Sue?
Suzanne.
Suzanne, sorry.
But anyway, these plans are very tiny, and I'm trying to look at them the best I can, but I don't see anywhere on the plans where the driveways are outlined clearly.
Well, if you want to,
Does anybody else see them?
well, if you go to the site plan, which I believe is right after my explanation, there's a plan here, and it's got the 2 driveways or right here.
I don't, which one?
Keep going back the other way.
Where do you see driveways? Where?
So the whole area, may I?
That's a whole area.
So
It's
that whole
demanded.
thing is all gonna be pavement, and that's considered the driveway?
Yes.
The
Well,
driveways are
no.
the entrances.
The driveway entrances are the two driveway entrances that are shown with the curving lines,
What curvy lines?
the black curving lines.
These lines.
So that's all pavement?
Yes.
Oh, it says pervious pavement
It's
here.
pervious pavement.
All right. So with all this construction, do they meet their green space requirements?
Pervious pavement, pervious pavement is counted in green space calculations as green space because the water travels through it and doesn't run off.
Now, how far apart of the driveway is going to be here? I see this 128.77, but I'm assuming that's the road frontage.
Yeah, that's 128.77, yeah.
So how,
They're pretty close. It might be in the 40s. 30s to 40s. It depends what DPW tells us they want for, they haven't told us which one they want us to be the in driveway and which one they want us to be the out driveway. I think the one closest to Fratello's will be the in driveway, and I think the present driveway that we have will be the out driveway.
We have a letter here from the Director of Public Works saying we shouldn't approve this.
I haven't seen that.
So I don't understand.
I think I think what you've got is you've got a letter saying I need a variance in order to approve
So
it.
the
Specific
variance
than that.
should not be granted, based on the current plan.
And then on the second page, he does say that the traffic pattern needs to be revised so that it's in one way and out the other way only, not in and out at both entrances. Because the original application that Wes reviewed had in and out at both entrances. And he's saying that based on that design, he doesn't support a variance being granted with one-way only exit entrance and some other kind of traffic calming or sightline design features would be workable.
Those are like planning board and DPW issues. The thing the board has to focus on is the distance between the street and the fact that there's two driveway entrances. Where exactly those driveway entrances go is going to be told to us by DPW because they're going to tell us how they want the traffic flow to be. It's just the idea that we can have them that the board is giving a variance for.
Question two. Do we have any property that on Union Ave that actually matches the code?
I would imagine that more recent development does. If you look through these photos, I mean,
They're all, look like, well, that would have been,
99.9% of them are older properties that probably have just undergone changes, minimal changes
pretty
throughout
much
the year.
grandfathered in.
Yeah. If you look at the more redeveloped properties,
necessarily.
Taco Bell, McDonald's, Watermark, Dunkin' Donuts, and the other thing next to it, those are the ones that are coming to
Well, Aroma
light.
Joe's was recent, and they're not 50 feet.
But if you look at most of the recent ones, they probably meet the requirements. I'm not familiar with Aroma Joe's and what the
Yeah, and I don't
situation was
remember
there.
ever
but-
giving Aroma Joe's a variance, so I don't understand that one, but.
Well, I don't either. If you look at all the pictures I took, and there's also curbing that was installed and everything, so the Public Works must have known that these properties had, and that provision's been on the books for a while. It's not new.
I don't know what that site was like prior to its development. I don't know if there were already existing in curb cuts or not.
There was, because there was a restaurant there. What was that, the back?
Well, there was a business there at one time. There was a lady that ran a secretarial service that was in there.
No, I think
No.
there was a restaurant there,
It was a restaurant.
Yeah.
It burned down.
yeah.
Take 5, something like that.
Well, that's irrelevant, so.
Yeah.
let's move on.
Well, no, the curb cuts were there. That's the reason why there was already a previous building
That's
there.
that's my assumption. I'm not familiar with the file, but
Getting back to the Public Works Director, I think he's pretty specific. Says the present design presents a safety hazard as to the plan has two-way traffic on their driveways. A vehicle attempting to leave the property can block the driver's view in the other driveway or Walnut Street. It can also block the view of drivers on Union, he says street, but it's Avenue. A variance should not be granted based on the current plan due to these safety hazards. I think that's pretty specific.
correct.
Well, wait a minute. Let me, if I may add.
Yes.
If you went to page 2,
I did go to page 2.
huh? And page 2 at the last
I know he
paragraph.
walks it off a little bit, but I'm looking,
It was a traffic pattern on the proposed development that is one way, with the entrance to the property being the driveway closest to Walnut Street, and the exit the one furthest away. So what they're saying is part of their, if one would be granted, that the proposed, that they see as a solution is the driveway entrance closest to Walnut Street would be entrance only. So it's like one way in and then one way out. So that the furthest,
Well, and that's,
furthest driveway away from Walnut Street would be the exit. So that then the two doesn't hinder each other coming and going.
Yeah, and I can see, because I focused on that too, but then if you keep reading, he totally turns around and, says it can work, so.
well, yeah, and we have to understand, we filed the application, we got told we needed this variance, and until we have the variance, and until we do some test borings, we can't go back to TRC3 and revise the plans to show the one-way in, which we're willing to do, but you've got to start somewhere on these projects.
And I think what he was, when he was saying that a variance should not be granted based on the current, so those are the key words, their current plan, and the current plan that was being discussed was on both, was entrance and exit on
On
both.
both.
So you would have a car coming in and a car leaving this way, and then over here, you could have a car coming in and a car coming out. Now, that's with trailers added to them, because they're boats and stuff attached to them, so that's what he's saying here.
You could make your
Variance
approval
should not be
condition
granted
upon that, too.
Based on the current plan. And that was based on what Mr. Philpott said. That was the current, Billiard, I'm sorry.
well, I don't see many trailers coming in there. You don't need trailers for boat storage in an enclosed structure.
Well, how
But
do
they'll
they
How do you
get
think
there?
the boat's gonna get there?
Well, I think they're gonna get there by being brought in by forklift.
Oh, there will
some
not
other
be
place.
forklifts driving down Union Avenue.
Yeah,
Not carrying boats.
What?
I would hope that.
That's what I'm afraid of, is going to happen, because
You know,
we don't have, with these plans, we don't have any measurements. We don't know how big the building's going to be. We
Yeah,
don't know
Roland,
anything.
there's building,
building's not before us.
What?
the-
I know it's not, but what
but
I'm saying is,
there's
How are they gonna
plans, there's
get
building plans attached to the
to
package.
that facility.
They're gonna drive them up on trailers
On trailers.
and then unload them somehow.
The size of the building is on these plans, and there's actually building plans
Forklift
attached
would
to your
be on the
packet.
site to take them off the trailer.
But that's not there, but.
Yeah, that's unfortunately not before us. The only thing that's here is the driveways. And we could, if the board so chose, they could, if they were wanting to grant it, then they could give that directional input right there, here and now, and say, boom, this one would be the entrance and that would be the exit, and then the Public Works would make the final magic happen on the exact footage here or there, because that's not.
I have no problem with the board deciding that one's an entrance and one's an exit, but I'd really like to leave the decision as to which one is which to the DPW.
They're more qualified to make that decision.
You betcha.
Than I think
Yeah,
I am, so.
me too. Any other questions?
So what are you thinking?
I think we should open it to the public.
Okay. At this moment, I'd like to open it to the public and ask if anybody is for or against this application. Please come forward at this time and introduce yourself for the record.
Hello, I'm Linda Perkins, and I live at 17 Walnut Street, and I'm concerned about the effect it's going to have. Pulling out on Walnut Street now is worth your life some days. And the hill is very steep. I don't know if you're familiar with Walnut Street. You are, Roland. It's a very steep hill. Sometimes in the winter, you have no choice but to go up or down, or sometimes you're trying to go up and you go down. I'm concerned about this whole proposal. Like, I know Phil says he's going to check, make sure that the banking is stable. I know you have nothing to do with this, but there has to be a retaining wall. I mean, you can't just dig into this banking without collapsing my house. I mean, it's more than just this road that is the issue. But pulling out at the end of Walnut Street now is a hazard. It's, wall-to-wall traffic. Sometimes there's people in the turn lane trying to turn. I was trying to turn onto my street one day, and a fire truck was coming down the road. Union Avenue's blocked up anyway. I'm in the turn lane. There's a fire truck coming right at me. I'm trying to get over as best I can, but it's a very congested area. And I mean, I've lived there for 42 years, and the traffic on that road has increased dramatically, and it's going to only get worse. So I'm just concerned, with my property and with the safety issues of pulling in and out. I don't have a problem with the lot being developed. I have a problem with it being developed the right way. I don't even have a problem with a boat storage facility being there, provided it's not going to, A, destroy my house and make a safety hazard. And I just personally don't think that lot is big enough for what's being proposed.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Please come forward and introduce yourself for the record.
Well, I'm Thomas Brown. Tom and my wife and I own the property up in back of all of this, the big 2-some-odd acres field. I recall, I don't have the dates, but I recall that in the wintertime, a snowplow came down Walnut Street, couldn't stop, went out on Union Avenue, struck a car and killed a man. And that had to be about 55 years ago, 52, 53 years ago. The thing is, it's a very dangerous area because the traffic flows down Union Avenue at a full speed, and you come out of there, and the people that want to get out take liberties and cut in front of people and zip, 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 and it's very congested. And I'm sure that this just goes along with what Linda Perkins said, and I think you find if you look into it further, there'll be other people that feel the same way. That's all.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak for or against this application? Let the record indicate no one else wished to speak for or against this application. Therefore, I bring it back to the board for questions of the applicant. There being none, any closing statements?
There's really no development along Walnut Street at all. we're not gonna be using Walnut Street. There's no access point to this lot on Walnut Street. And that's the issue, because it's, the topography is such that the entrances have to be on Union Avenue. We are fortunate that we do have a middle lane right there, right in front of the property. And there won't be any traffic. Once the boats are in for the winter, they're in for the winter. There's not gonna be any coming and going. And so, and when they're out for the summer, they're gonna be out for the summer, so.
Do you think the majority of the activity on the lot would happen in April, May, and then October, November?
Correct.
And the rest of the time, there wouldn't be any activity?
Right.
And that vegetation that, if you looked on your picture,
That's gonna stay there.
that vegetation's gonna stay there?
Yeah, that's the buffer area, yeah. And it's gonna stay all the way around the property. It's 10 feet on each side, and then 20 feet along Linda's property along the back. But I do want to assure
Does
Linda.
it have to be so thick with the trees and stuff that maybe if some of that was coming out to the edge, that it would clear a line of sight so that the people,
We can definitely do that if that's what they'd
you
like.
know what I'm saying? Because as they come down Walnut Street and try to look left, they're gonna look right into this.
Yep.
And that's causing them to pull out further.
No, I
Not
think that's
traffic
a
person.
good idea, and I have no problem with that, yeah.
Sir, are there other options to have one big driveway in the center to be away from Walnut
Not
Street?
really when you're towing a trailer, you know?
Can I ask, just so I can visualize, and it's just so I visualize this, how many stories is this?
Well, the building is like an old-fashioned farmhouse. It's got 32 slots on one side, and then a big 50 by 50 open area. So there'll be some boats that will be backed under there, and then there'll be some boats that will be lifted into place by a fork truck.
And the average size of a boat you'll be storing? Is it
Well-
under 40 feet?
Oh, yes. But I do want you to know that is kind of a problem, because if you have a 40-foot boat and you want to store it inside, the other thing I didn't say about this is heated indoor storage. It's going to be heated. So sometimes people don't want the fiberglass of their boats to crack, so it's not just inside, it's heated. So it's kind of those expensive 30-foot boats that they tend to sell in that area that are going to be probably in the building there. And then there's a big 50 by 50. So say you had a $200,000 or $300,000 40-foot cabin cruiser. Right now, you don't have a lot of options as far as putting that inside in a heat. So we'd actually have room to put something like that in
I'm
there.
just thinking that is a tiny little lot, and that's maneuvering a very big boat into a small building.
Well, that's why we need the two driveways, you know. All right, thank you for your time tonight. Thank you. Any other questions?
How many
Any-
boats are you going to be storing there?
Well, the racks hold 32, and there may be room for another 40 or so 75 or so.
How many stories?
Well, it's about 52 feet high, but the back wall of the land will be 40, so it'll only stick up at, it's like a shed roof. It comes up and then it goes down along Walnut Street. So the peak is going to be sort of on the first 1/3 of the building, facing Union Avenue at the peak, and then it's going to shed down. So it's 85 by 85, the building. But it's not like high all the way. 52 is the highest point, and then it slopes down. That was done to accommodate a theme of an old-fashioned farmhouse, as much as you could make a boat storage building look like that.
Okay, thank you. So I'm gonna close it to the public and bring it to the board for discussion.
I recognize what it is in being able to move a boat and a trailer and everything like that. I just wish we could see a little bit more here of what the design of it was. Just numbers and stuff like that. But
if that's gonna be controlled by the DPW,
Then they'll come out with that.
and between them and the planning board, they'll come out to the exact dimensions. The question would be, based on what they're asking for is just to have the two cuts within 50 feet of the roadway and 50 feet of each other. And what we've seen up and down Union Ave, it would be no difference. And even if they put another coffee shop there, you would run it, no matter what you put there, you're gonna have the same question before the board, no matter what the use. And there could be higher impact usage versus lower impact usage on any kind of business you put there. That would come back and say, I would like my two driveways, okay? Because if you look at it, it was set originally at some point with two driveways from the looks of the pictures as I drove by it every day. You know, so the question comes, based on the usage that you have being offered for this property, mind you, just keeping in mind the driveways, it's a fairly lower impact area. You're gonna have not trucks with pulling boats and stuff coming in and out every 5 minutes of the day. If you had a coffee store, shop with a drive-through, or if you had anything else with a drive-through, you would have a higher impact of traffic entering and exiting the property at any given time. From watching and just observing, as you see them move trucks, I've watched, I'm not sure what the marinas are moving them, but they move them from over in the Guilford area over to one of the marinas and back and forth they're ferried. And you have, from my unprofessional observation of just driving, you know, there's a couple times a year that it seems to be a little bit higher impact, then it just drops right off during the summer months and stuff. And during the summer months is when you have most of your peak traffic coming up and down Union Ave. I don't think, it didn't sound like it was set up to go, oh, I want my boat today, here, can I have it? And then they're gonna come out and do that. It didn't sound like it was that type of investment in doing something like that. I'd like to open it back up to the public, because I would like to clarify that question and ask the applicant that question. Is that okay with everybody else, or would y'all like to just move on?
I missed what the question was.
Well, I wanted to ask the applicant, is it gonna be the type of situations where they call on demand to get the boat and then put it back at the same day? Take it out for the day, like a valet type boat
That's not
setup.
his proposed.
Like they do over at Southdown.
I just would rather have that on the record as, so would the applicant please come forward?
The answer is no, there's no valet. It's winter storage facility,
Okay,
and it's just boats. There's no RVs, there's no nothing, it's boats to be heated.
okay, thanks.
Okay.
So you're only gonna have that type of impact 2 times a year, and it's not all gonna happen at once with a parade, so, you know, that's the one side of it. It could be, like I said, you pick another business, and it's gonna be year-round traffic in and out with the same question. I would like to have my 2 cuts, so.
Okay.
This is the year they're rebuilding that section of Union Avenue, too,
Yeah, up to.
Stock Street.
To Stark Street, yes.
You want a motion?
Sure.
Okay, I'll make a motion, I'll make a motion to approve, application 2018-12, to allow for two driveway cuts on the property, which is to be used for seasonal boat storage only. Granting the variance, would not be contrary to the public interest, and the spirit of the ordinance is observed. In this case, the variance, the property is located on Union Ave, which is a highly developed commercial area. And so you're putting basically a low-impact use on this site. It's our understanding that the bulk of the traffic in and out of the parcel will be twice a year, in the spring and in the fall, for the purposes of storing boats only. Substantial justice is done. The benefit to the applicant is, in this case, far outweighed by any negative impact to the general public, and the use is consistent with the area's current use and character, and will do no harm to the general public. Values of surrounding properties will not be diminished, and and literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance will result in an unnecessary hardship. This is a small parcel that is sort of, there's no way to access it really from Walnut Street on one side or the other side, so it is totally sort of landlocked, and just the shape of the property, and which, again, doesn't alter the essential character of the neighborhood or threaten the public health and safety or welfare of the neighborhood or surrounding properties.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second that.
We have a second discussion. I would like to add a couple of things, if I may, to the motion. As conditions, the first condition would be that the vegetation between Walnut Street and the property leading up to the road be cut back to an appropriate height so that it would improve the visual, the visibility of the drivers coming down from Walnut Street, so they have a clearer view of what's coming from the left side of the road going in. The second thing would be, based on DPW's input, that one of the driveways is an entrance and one of the driveways is an exit only, and that will be determined by the DPW in using their best judgment. That would be the two conditions I would like to add to the application, or
Okay?
okay? Okay, sorry. All right, so with that being said, we have a motion with the addendums, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Y'all need any of these pictures or anything?
We have a copy in the file.
Okay, did you need any for the planning board to look at or anything? No?
Thank you, though.
Okay. Application 2018-0013, 21 Timber Lane. Applicant is requesting a special exception for the creation of an accessory dwelling unit in the CR district. Would the applicant please come forward, introduce yourself for the record, and tell us how we may help?
Good evening. My name is Mike Pearson, and I'm here representing the applicant, Tara Saxton. I brought the plans that I had presented in connection with the application. I don't want to waste the board's time going through all of the different factors in the application, and I will just incorporate those by reference to my presentation. If there are questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I would like to give a bit of an overview of what we're proposing with reference to the plans. Can everybody see? Can that be seen? Just since I moved your easel, sorry about that. So what we are proposing is, we are proposing to turn the second floor of the existing garage, which is right here, into an accessory dwelling unit. Currently, what we have is that we have a two-story home with an attached garage. Actually, it's three, counting the basement, and the second floor of the existing garage is unfinished. What the applicant is looking to do is to convert that unfinished space into a finished space to allow her parents to live in that unit during the summer months while they winter in Florida. And this plan shows what the accessory dwelling unit is going to look like. Again, it is on the second floor of the garage, and it has 2 bedrooms, as is required by the zoning ordinance. It does have the separate entranceway, which is right here. It has a bathroom. It is hooked to all of the same utilities as the main home. And it will have access through the garage, so there will not be a separate entrance at the front of the building, which is also required under the accessory dwelling unit ordinance. The size of this particular unit is roughly 24% of the overall square footage. The main living area of the house is 8,100 square feet.
So the main house, but it's not including the garage?
Not including the garages, is 8,100 square feet. Yes, it was approved for 11,000 square feet, and that was what the building permit was paid on, was 11,000. So with this accessory dwelling unit, it will be roughly 11,000. It's a large home.
And it's a large accessory, but no, it's allowed. I mean, that's 25% is less than the 25% the law says. So.
Yep, and looking at the exterior of the building, there would be no changes. There'd be no difference for the neighbors. There are 4 bays in the garage, so there's ample parking for the in-laws to park their vehicles during the winter months. Again, it is within keeping of the neighborhood, and there will be no substantial change. It does fit within the spirit of the zoning ordinance, and especially the recent changes to the zoning ordinance, which are promoting uses by people of different ages. So we will have a professional family that is living there full-time, and we will be having elderly grandparents that will be able to be there with their grandchildren at some point in time. So, Mr. Mayor?
Is anyone living in the house at the present time?
Believe the house is still under construction. Tara, is that accurate? Yeah. The house is still under construction.
I want to be sure I saw the right place, that's all.
Yeah. No, it is under construction now, and once it is completed, Tara and her family will be living there as their primary residence. Other questions?
Any other questions?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Is where the home located, is that part of the Four Seasons condominium area, or is that completely separate?
It is part, yes.
It is part?
Yes, it is.
And by doing what they want to do, are they in accord with the rules and regulations of Four Seasons?
Yes, as I understand it, they are.
There's no problem there?
No.
Generally, if they're a part of an association, we get a letter. I don't think we can legally do that, but we'd like to know that they have permission from the association to do these things.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah. That wasn't required in the application when I had submitted it. We did notice the association as abutters, and I believe that there are some of the members of the association here who are going to speak in support of this proposal. So perhaps they can speak to what the association has done on that, unless you have something that.
Yeah, there's nothing in our documents there for Timber Woods where we're at that restricts anything or has anything to do with that.
Could you please come forward and introduce yourself for the record,
I'm
please?
sorry.
Hi, my name is Tara Saxton, and me and my husband are the ones building the house, but the woods at Timber Lane are an internal condominium association within Four Seasons. Four Seasons has, as you know, multiple associations, so we have our own documents at Timber Woods there, and there's nothing in our documents for our association restricting an in-law, an accessory. And we have two of our neighbors to the right and to the left of our actual house here tonight that are supporting us.
Okay.
Okay, if something comes up, they will go after you.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Tara.
You're welcome.
Does the board have further questions?
If there's no further questions at this time, I'd like to open it up to the public and ask if anybody from the public wishes to speak for or against this application. Please come forward at this time and introduce yourself for the record.
Vinnie Antonucci, I am one of the abutters. The way they set up this whole property, I think is fantastic. It will be no impact of any sort. And as far as the documents go, I've been here for 33 years, and I don't believe there's anything that says you can't do it. There's nothing that, and I've been here for 33 years. I am definitely for it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else for the public wish to speak for or against this application?
Evening, my name's David Day, and I live on the other side of the driveway to Vinnie, of the driveway, and as he says, I think it's an asset to the community there, and we're very happy and welcome the neighbors.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just ask the lawyer some more questions? No, now you've opened it up to the public? Okay, so we'll wait, okay.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public wish to speak for or against this application? Please come forward at this time and introduce yourself for the record.
Hi, I'm Ian Day, and I live at 27 Timber Lane, and we welcome them into our neighborhood. The house is going to be beautiful, and I don't believe there's anything in the documents, and we're just very happy to welcome them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak for or against this application? Please come forward at this time. Introduce yourself for the record. Let the record indicate no one else from the public wishes to speak for or against this application. I'll bring it back to the board for further questions.
Well, I just had a question of the applicant, but
Yes.
can I do that?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm just reading our law because it's a new law, obviously, and, we've only, I think, approved one of these so far. And it just, I just wanted to just see how it goes, but how many bedrooms are gonna be in this accessory?
Just two.
So it'll be two.
It will be two,
Two.
yep. That's the limitation, as I understand it, in the ordinance.
Parking will be,
There's a four-car garage,
so one of the stalls will be for the accessory? So
Exactly.
I just wanted, you're providing parking, not more than two bedrooms, I'm just going through the law. So-
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Those are the few things that I just have.
Excellent.
Any other questions of the applicant? There being none, any closing statements?
Just as I indicated, I believe that it meets all of the requirements under the ordinance, and I certainly hope that the board will approve it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and with that, I'm going to close it to the public and bring it to the board for discussion.
One big apartment, but, but in terms of, you know, the primary unit, it's allowed, so.
Yep, and it's
what are we
I
gonna do?
wasn't
It's all the
aware
criteria.
that we had to approve every accessory apartment through zoning,
Yes, we do.
every one.
It's in the
And we've
law.
only had one other so far?
One or two,
With the, under the new.
under the new law
The new-
that was
Been
just
a-
passed.
for a year,
Be-
correct?
Before
Yeah.
it was,
Exactly, yep.
before it was considerably different.
Yeah, they used to be called mother-in-law apartments, or, you know,
Right.
what were they called? They were called something, not accessory dwelling units, they were called accessory apartments, I guess.
I think accessory apartment.
Yeah, and so then the law, the state came in and changed everything, and so we had to change our law to mesh with the state.
Accommodate
And so we did this back in 2007, beginning of 2017, so it's been about a year and a half.
And I think the other part of that is it has to be an attached unit.
No, it can be on top of a garage.
But the
But the
garage, the
garage
building
must be
has to be attached to the
To the
house.
house.
Right, because
And
we had
that
one in
can't be
the
a
chicken shack
freestanding
out
unit.
there.
That's right.
I don't think it says that, but that's neither here nor there because this one is, so.
Right. So, any other discussion?
No. I'm curious on these as we start to do some of these, and these are of good sizes. A lot of these are in, obviously residential areas and stuff like that. How is the city looking at Airbnb and stuff like that?
That's just,
At this time, we are,
Right.
there's no enabling legislation that we're aware of that allows us to regulate Airbnbs.
So to answer your question, there is none.
Right.
Okay. Any more discussion? There being none, I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept application 2020180013, 21 Timber Lane, Laconia, New Hampshire, Terrace, asking for special exception for an accessory dwelling unit. This dwelling unit. Is not going to cause undue traffic congestion or put pedestrian safety at risk. This is up on a out-of-the-way area. The ADU will not overload any public water, drain, or sewage system or any other municipal system. It will not create excessive demand for police, fire protection, schools, or waste disposal. And I believe that as the laws are written, that this ADU is fully within the constraints of what laws are written. Will not create hazards to health, safety, or general welfare, and the proposed location is appropriate for the requested use. This is consistent with the spirit and intent of this chapter and the master plan. And I move we accept it.
Got a motion? We got a second?
Second.
We have a second. Discussion of the motion. There being none, I'd like to vote on the motion. All those in favor? Passes 5-0. Enjoy your accessory use. Whatever, ADA use or, okay, accessory apartment, whatever
Dwelling.
you want to call it these days. Okay, other business before the board. Any update is all of our court proceedings have been finalized and there's no further legal actions on any applications of the zoning board whatsoever?
My understanding is that there, some of the Pogus Park Road pending.
Is that the deck again?
It's just hanging out there.
Okay. but no other,
Deck or the,
The deck, correct, not the island.
the island's done?
I have not
far as
heard
we
that
know.
there has been another appeal or anything like that, as far as I'm
Okay.
aware.
Cool. The, any other thing?
The accessory apartments, let me get clear. The planning board approved one on Holman Street a couple months ago.
Shouldn't have.
I don't understand the process.
No, we
No,
did. We
the
approved one
zoning
on
board
Holman
did.
Street.
It was the zoning board.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
the
I was
zoning-
like,
Okay,
no.
all right, because I was just a little,
I was gonna say, planning board
No,
doesn't.
that came to us.
okay.
I see you getting meeting bleed over.
Yeah, well,
You know, you serve on too many boards, Mike.
Any other things? I do want to remind everybody, if I could take this opportunity, Brandy graciously reminded me that when we are discussing through text messages or through emails and stuff, and having exchanges with the planning department and stuff, they sometimes go out as
You
group
reply all.
group emails and stuff. So we must be extremely careful that we don't open discussion between each other, okay? If by chance an accident happens or something like that, because then that would put us in violation of state regs. So if you do that, make sure it's directed at Robert, and then Robert would funnel it to the right people, and then the right people will funnel back any response, and that comes back. But the discussion between us could turn it into a quorum, which then could say we're having a unnoticed meeting, and then we end up in the newspaper like other areas have been in the newspaper. So we wish to stay out of the newspaper.
I'm very familiar with RSA 91A. I used to live by it when I was on the council.
Okay, just one other thing. I'd just like to request that, like, that memo from Wes Anderson was received in your office on August 7th, and we didn't get it till tonight. And that was a lot to take in. So when you get stuff like that, will you email it to us or make it part of the,
Yes.
so that we have it before the meeting when it's, because that was technical and it was hard to grasp when we're sitting here. I can see if it came in yesterday, but it's been in your, so just.
Okay. And that's all I had. I just wanted to make that kind reminder, because sometimes we forget in today's technical world that we can get away from ourselves and not. So that's all I have.
I move we adjourn.
Second?
Second?
All those in favor, aye, good night.
Thank you.
Supper.